What's up, guys? George Balekji here with Boston has entered the chat. But hey, check out the latest episode of Foxborough Rush. Travis Thomas and myself break down Mike Vrabel's presser right before the NFL draft. Also, Sean McGuire joins the show. Spoke with Iowa State's wide receiver coach about Jaden Higgins and Jalen Knoll, two big-time prospects for the Pats in this upcoming draft. And we run through a mailbag as well. So find out about draft prospects, Vrabel's take, and we answer your questions on the latest episode of Foxborough Rush. All right. Bring it in. It's Boston has entered the chat. George Balekji here with Kasey Hudson. Case, what's up? How we doing?
We're good. It's been a solid start to the week. I can't tell you what day it is, but
that's every day for me.
Exactly.
That's every week as well.
I was going to say, how do you keep track?
Calendars are not enough. You just wake up day by day, take it. That's all it is.
That's true. I got a mouthful from my family because I still have to write things down. It's just my thing.
Yeah.
And then I also have like a rip-off calendar where it has like time blocks.
Yeah.
And then I have my alarm in my phone. It's not for a lack of being organized. It's just OCD to the max.
That's a lot.
It's a bit much.
I keep it Google Calendars like my saving grace. And there's a handwritten calendar where you can time block too. I think that's important.
Yeah. That one's my savior.
I'm still not organized. I still forget things all the time. It's something everyone will want to forget this past Bruins season. Obviously a disappointment, missing the playoffs. But we're going to take a look forward onto what they're going to do this offseason, what the priorities should be. We'll break all of that down. We're talking draft. We're talking coaches. We're talking free agency as well. And also Athan and Matt Colpitts, they stopped by for the Ringside review. This one, a WrestleMania 41 preview. That one's going to be a lot of fun. So, Case, let's get into it. So, the Bruins' disappointing season now over. Missed the playoffs, and it was from the start. The contract holdout between Jeremy Swayman and the Bees.
Right.
We're never healthy. Jim Montgomery fired 20 games into the season. Joe Sacco takes over. Tough spot for any interim head coach to be in, then to the selling that they did at the trade deadline.
Right.
This is a season everyone wants to put behind them. And you look back on it, it's in a way, it's like everything that could go wrong went wrong.
Yeah.
Team tunes out the head coach. They fire the head coach. Injuries just riddle. Goalie can't get back on track. This is the tough part, but it's also something to talk about, and then it's one of those put behind it.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that you said it, everything that could go wrong did go wrong. So it just makes it that much harder to kind of have that cushion to fans to say, it was a bad season. Let's turn the page on this. There's a lot of emotions tied into every aspect of it. But when you kind of try to pull apart, compartmentalize the bright spots here, and I know Bruins fans, you feel like it's few and far between, a healthy defensive core, your top defensive pairings that are top of the NHL, for crying out loud. Like, you get certain players back on a healthier note with more of a direction and an identity. That should be the goal this offseason.
Yeah.
Because from the jump, the question mark really was, what's the identity of this team?
Yeah.
You had playmakers, yes, but you didn't build around them. You just expected them to continue to be the pillars regardless of the pieces around them. So I think it's almost crystal clear what needs to take place this offseason. The next question mark is will and how.
Yeah, and it's like we saw what they did at the deadline. Got younger, got smaller but faster and more skilled to bolster up the forwards. We know what they get with the blue line. It's a matter of what they get with their top six skaters, and that's what they need a lot of too. At the trade deadline, trading away Brad Marchand, Brandon Carlo, Trent Frederick, Charlie Coyle, Justin Brazeau, getting picks, also getting prospects in return. This is a team that will have 4 draft picks in the upcoming draft through the first 3 rounds, which is important.
Yeah.
And they could fall anywhere with the lottery between, it looks like 5 to 1. Like, there are the chances. And we'll talk prospects in just a second, but you look at the biggest flaws of 2024, it was just the pure lack of talent.
Yeah.
And it's
no depth.
And it's a lack of depth too. And that's what it is you knew what you're going to get from David Pastrnak, like him having a 100-point season. Then they have Morgan Geekie with a career year with 30 goals. But it was just a matter of the whole point of this team. They needed to add more. They knew it coming into this offseason. Didn't get what he wanted from Elias Lindholm. Same thing from Pavel Zacha. They need that 1C. They need to get better down the middle.
Yes.
And they overall just need to get better in the top 6. And that could be acquiring a right wing or a left wing, draft, trade, free agency as well.
Yeah, and also the bottom 6, because in a lot of these, when you talk about depth scoring, you've got to get your third line involved, and I feel like that's where a lot of the mix around came about. Every time there was a question mark in terms of what this team was doing, where the production level lacked, you just saw the shuffling of that third line, and then you saw, glimmers and like potential, and then the late call-ups to give young guys those opportunities. And I feel like some of those NHL reps probably should have come in a bit earlier in the season as well, because the league is getting younger as a whole, and it's getting more commanding for these young guys to not only find their identity on an NHL roster between, you know, those early ages of the 20s, but that's your future, and that's how you kind of solidify that you know what direction you're heading in. So couldn't agree more. I feel like they thought they had their top 6 picked out. The lack of production obviously like went against that, but not having a consistent, solid, reliable bottom 6, that's why I feel like they kind of just threw the bomb at that and had to restart from scratch.
Yeah, and we could see it's what is the return they get from the prospects they acquired, like a Fraser Minton. 20 years old, 6'2", around 200 pounds. He's a left shot, could play left wing or center. And in junior hockey, he's been scoring at a great pace. 0.93 points per game is what has been his career down there. And that is someone that you trade anyone to the Leafs no matter what. I mean, what they did sending Brandon Carlo there.
Yeah.
But to get this type of prospect in return, that's what they need. And that could be a bottom 6 scorer. It's the same thing with Will Zellers, 18, so younger.
Yeah.
Just 5'11", 180. So that's undersized for an NHL center. But can he continue to still grow into his body? And does he do something where, as he still develops, does Matt Patra take a step up? And does he add to Lindholm, Middlestat, and Zacha down the middle? Can Patra be that 4th line center or maybe 3rd line, and you see how everything falls there? But like, that's the important part with the depth, or do they move him off that center spot? But it's what they did at the trade deadline. Like, that's where the offseason began. And that was the right thing to do. They chose that lane. And when it's prospects like that, okay, how do they fit into this equation? Where do you see them falling on the depth chart? And then that's as they get ready for a draft. Okay, what do they address then? Is it a winger? Do they go center? If they get the number 1 overall pick, it's a can't-miss defenseman out of Canada you got to take. That's fine. You have plenty of decor. You have plenty in the decor, but if it's a can't miss prospect, like this team is in a spot where they in a way, they got to take the top tier talent, and it has to be something that makes the whole team better.
Yeah, it's like being picky without being too picky, but sticking with the prospects, because I think you make a great point to say you trade for them, you've got to make it work to some degree. And I kind of already went on a bit of a rant when it comes to Fraser Minton on the Hockey Hub with Sophia the other day, because I'm excited about this guy for a number of reasons, because Toronto, a very difficult market on players, was excited about him. And I always think that that's a good starting point to start to see what a player can bring to the table, for one. For two, it's what the consistency is in his game. You mentioned his numbers when he was with the Blades, but also to add to that, it's the fact that he just has this irrevocable net front presence, and that you're going to need in this lineup, because I saw a great article by Andre Vasilevsky on NHL.com, and he was just talking about how much harder it is for goaltenders these days because of the ability for players to position themselves in those high danger spaces, net front being more specific. And Fraser Minton just has this game at the goal line in front of the net where he polishes off goals, and we just saw so many missed opportunities by the Bruins this season where nobody could clean up the garbage in front of the net, and that's Minton's game, on top of the fact that he's very decisive when it comes to his release on the puck, which also helps. You know, that's the only way you're going to sneak past good goalies as well. So development wise, I think he was a good acquisition in the trade, considering all the emotions around it, and you give him the time and the development, and we've seen stride by stride since he got the call up for the Bruins, there's a consistency there. He could be such an anchor on that bottom 6, maybe even jump up on, well, there's no room for him on the top 6, but definitely an anchor on the bottom 6.
And that's what you would take. It goes into that depth scoring.
Yes.
And it's any way we want to shake it. It's at the point of, okay, even if they're not top 6, but if it's a line that's contributing and scoring, like that's what this team lacked. It was on both ends of the ice. But if it's someone like a Minton that can have that positive impact in the offensive zone, and if it's someone like a Casey Middlestat that steps up to be the leader and a mentor for the guys like that, and then help out Will Zellers as well. It's just the same thing where Zellers doesn't exactly have the 200-foot game. Like, that could be the weakness, his size and strength. But okay, can he develop into a player that can make an impact there?
Yeah, and he's really brazen when it comes to picking apart defenders and kind of putting them on their heels. So kind of having that sneaky player that is bullish in certain moments. You know, I feel like something that's been a part of the Bruins repertoire is having these like smaller guys that play beyond their size. And I think that what I've seen and heard of in regards to Zellers, he's one of those guys, again, willing to take on defenders, can also pull a number of sweaters over to one side of the ice and open up opportunities on the other side. So another guy that would be really crucial to develop. And then sticking with the younger end, Kuznetsov, you know what I mean? He's been great. I think that he has such a strong defensive element to his game. with your defense back in healthy stature, you're not worried too much about the gaps that got between the Bruins coverage this season. But with that being a contingency here and there, you've got a guy like Hristodulu who fills those gaps and cleans up quite well. He just can't do it on his own, considering size and everything else. But for his skill set and the level, he was helpful in that asset and deserves a chance to continue to grow.
And that's guys like Mason Lariah. They're going to have to agree to a contract with him as an RFA. But we've seen the contributions he makes. Good vision, pairs up well with Hampus Lindholm, who missed the season due to injury. And like that gets into it. Charlie McAvoy never returned after the Four Nations. It's Hristodulu. It's Max Wanner. Again, another guy they traded for. It's when I go through like their biggest needs are, it's decision on a head coach, better down the middle. If they can add an elite number one center in some way, make that happen, or if they just get better in the top 9 skaters. We always talk top 6, bottom 6 in the top 9.
Yeah.
That can help out if you're just more consistent down the middle. They need to get better on the power play. They need to make a decision with leadership at the captain. Now the Brad Marchand was traded away. And it is in a way of like going with the vision that they have with how this team's going to be moving forward. Yep. Big on the blue line. They got quicker. They got better skaters on in their forwards room now, but it's a matter of like stick with that, pick a direction and stick with it, and commit to a vision of the team.
100%. Like you can't waver from what decisions you have now made, now being the trade deadline.
Yeah.
And I also think that, again, with the league getting younger, you've got guys. I mean, I was seeing fans calling for Lascelles to get the call up months ago. So like you've got a number of guys that fan base on top of like scouts, on top of everybody else, thinks that like giving them the right off season, giving them the right training camp opportunities, they can make an impact. And you touched on Patra a moment ago, and I think that's also important to reiterate the fact that he got injured at the end of last season, had shoulder surgery, came back in battling out for a role, and dealing with those kinds of inconsistencies as a young guy, there was still a lot to build off of for Patra's game. His vision with creating passes, it's just getting those executors now to kind of plug in with the amount of guys that you have that have good vision, have speed, have capability, but you've got to find the back of the net because scoring was just such a tremendous issue outside of depth. Even the guys that you're relying on couldn't polish things off. Yeah.
They had a 100-point score, but they had no one to support him.
Right.
In crucial spots. Power play was just anemic, and they have to find someone that can drive that. But hey, we're talking Bruins. Make sure you can watch the Sox, of course, on NESN 360. Make sure to stream the entire Red Sox season with the NESN 360 annual plan available at an all-new reduced price of just $20 a month paid annually. And for a limited time, get 4 free tickets to Fenway with your purchase. Visit NESN360.com to sign up today. Yeah, we talk about, as you mentioned, it's getting better scoring. This is a spot they're in. They're going to have $20-25 million in cap space to spend this offseason. We know that Mitch Marner is a big name free agent that could hit the open market, but how much does he want in AAV after they just spent a lot on Elias Lindholm? And also the reality of, does he hit the open market? Does Toronto figure things out? But then as you go down the line, again, at the center spot, it could be a Brock Nelson, a Matt Duchene. Not as exciting as a signing an older player, but that is, again, we talked about all these guys have to develop. Right. That is someone that makes the team better now and then helps develop the younger players on the roster.
Well, I think the key thing here is while there are quality veterans on this roster, you still need, like, say Pasta decides to step up and be the leader in this locker room. Yeah. We're talking about leader in a singular manner, and that's not the case for a great locker room. You need multiple leaders. You need multiple voices, multiple styles, and I've harped on this quite a bit. So bringing in a guy between 28 to 33, 35 years old, he's a leader, he's a veteran. Postseason experience would be fantastic because he can be a supporting voice to get this team back into the postseason and can put up some numbers. So I feel like there's a couple of guys out there that could be quality fits. I mean, I was seeing about rumors about a few guys that could potentially be poking around the Boston area. And when I think of Grunlund and him going from San Jose down to Dallas and being a free agent by any means, 33 years old, he is a playmaker. He's a special teams guy. Yeah. He is so key. He can be at center. He can be at winger, like versatile and agile in a sense. That's somebody who I think can come in and have like that, chip on his shoulder to help send this room to the next level. And you said Duchene beforehand. I mean, granted, that would be amazing because you're talking about somebody who's really loading up in the points column, kind of at the close end of his career, not looking for anything long term, so he can't lock up too much money. When it comes to Marner, my only thing is cap space goes up 5%, and it's going to increase tremendously over the next 3 years. With that being said, I feel like the Maple Leafs can kind of finesse
and that's
more
thing.
Money on the back end. And
he's
said
the big
he
name
wants
free
to stay.
Agent. And it's like when a wide receiver is supposed to be a free agent in the NFL, the good players like a Mitch Marner, they don't hit the open market.
Right.
If anything, they get traded, like we saw happen between Carolina and the Stars.
Yes.
And the Avs, of course. Like that's the stuff that it's going to be in a trade maybe at the deadline. He's set to be a free agent. But yeah, I can't imagine the Leafs would let a Mitch Marner walk.
No, and he had such a prove it year. Like after all of the drama and like, media kind of trying to catch him in an emotional moment and stuff like that, he came in and freaking produced.
Yeah.
So the Maple Leafs try to make a case to keep guys like that around, but again, the cap increase can create some finessing that can help, both parties be happy, satisfied, and stay in it at the end of it all. But when looking at possibilities, I think grabbing from the Stars is probably very
You're also grabbing
plausible.
from a winning locker room, and that's important.
Yep.
And Duchesne is still 80-plus points at 30 goals this past season.
Yep.
If it's a Brock Nelson, that's 56 points on the year, but 40 takeaways, 40-plus block shots on the year, too. It's end-to-end game, and again, down the middle, getting bigger. And if it's someone like either or, with Duchesne had 51 assists, Brock Nelson had 30 this past season, someone to help out at David Pastrnak. Doesn't have to exactly be goal scoring, but it's shots on net, setting up rebounds, and just leading to more scoring opportunities, high danger chances.
Well, that leads me to another guy, because the Jets are going to have some difficult decisions this upcoming summer.
Yeah.
And Nikolai Ehlers, I mean, he is fantastic.
Yeah.
You're talking about a good frame on him at 6 foot 172. You're also talking about somebody who can get plays going, but also execute on polishing it off. So imagine the chemistry he could build with a David Pastrnak or a few other guys on the roster. Not to mention is that his efficiency with polishing off goals on even strength as well as special teams. You're talking about somebody that checks a lot of boxes and would be coming hopefully from a winning season. I mean, they've done great things, President's Trophies winner, but where he's at in his career, he could be a pickup that wouldn't be crippling to cap at all.
And they need to get better on the left wing, too.
Yeah.
The question, if you look at the depth chart, you don't know who's going to slot into that spot.
Yeah.
And Nikolai Ehlers, that's 40 to 50 points. At minimum, you're going to get out of the production on that left wing spot.
Yep.
And slot him wherever. And if it's opposite of a David Pastrnak, if they can work together and they gel on that first line, then that's the added need. And it's even, then you look at what this draft could bring. There's James Higgins right down the road at Boston College. There's Michael Misa, who's a top center projected in this upcoming draft. 134 points in 65 OHL games. He's been playing in the OHL since he was 15.
Yeah.
Like that type of talent. Getting that special admission with the ability to play up instead of waiting till he's 16. There's Jake O'Brien, Porter Martone, and this is me just like looking and piecing together. It's a fun part I always like of looking at who the prospects are, especially when we're in such a good college hockey city. Yeah. But this is where the Bruins fans also have to look, because with all those trades they made, they also got a lot of draft picks, 2 second-round picks, a third. They have their first, of course, could be top 5, should be top 5. But that's a direction they likely go in. Go with a young center prospect that they can develop. You sign those big-name veteran free agents, it allows you to take those times with the prospects, but also gets this team better short-term and for the long-term, the leadership. I think that's so important.
Yeah, and you say a key thing about plucking from a college being how big hockey is here, especially college hockey. The development timeline should be cut down a little bit because of where the game is translating to. Sticking with James Higgins for a second, his comparison is Clayton Keller,
Yeah.
And you love that for a number of reasons, because he's a two-way player for one. He elevates the players around him for two. And Higgins just has this buzz about him when he gets relentless creating and making sure plays are executed. And we've seen it quite consistently. So Higgins is a good one. I like Martone too, though. I think he can be a sneaky guy, closer to NHL ready, and not to mention is that his frame and what the development can look like in terms of big picture. Yeah. He's somebody that can slot in with a good development.
And that's where what the preference is. The James Higgins, 5'11", 175. Porter Martone, that is 6'2", around 195.
Yeah.
That more NHL-ready body. What Higgins is great is relentless on the back check, really good vision, makes the players around him a lot better, just knows how to find openings on the ice that other players simply don't see, and just create scoring opportunities that way. While Porter Martone, not as good of a skater as a Higgins, process is very quick, really good stick handling. His passes put defenders in conflict all the time. Again, it's putting pressure on an opposing defense. And we say it time and time again, that's where the Bruins have to get better. When healthy, their blue line, you'll take it.
Yeah.
When healthy, the offense, the forwards have to get better. Yeah. And that's something of building in front of the goalie that they extended and to continue to get better in that spot. It's an interesting offseason that the Bruins are going to head into.
It starts with what do we need? What do we want?
Yeah.
And what does this identity of this team look like for the next 5 to 10 years? You answer those questions, we're off to a good start.
And identity starts with the decision-making at head coach. Is it Sacco? Is it outside of the building? What direction do they go to there? You want to hear more about the Bruins? Make sure to check out the Hockey Hub on all the Bruins offseason plans, how they could get back to Stanley Cup contention. That's on Nesson's The Hockey Hub podcast. New episodes dropping every Tuesday and Thursday. YouTube, Spotify, Apple, Amazon, and wherever else you get your podcasts. Now we'll send it to our guys, Matt Colpitts, Athan Hristodulu, with the WWE Ringside Review ahead of WrestleMania.
Welcome into another edition of Ringside Review, a special edition as we are doing WrestleMania predictions with the big event this Saturday and Sunday. Ton of matches to go over. We each, myself and Matt Colpitts, are going to go 4 apiece, breaking it all down. We'll see how our records stack come next week once the event is come and gone. But Matt, are you ready for WrestleMania? Just days away.
I'm ready, man. It absolutely feels like it just needs to happen. I know this week we have a lot of shows building up to it. It kind of just feels like a lot of filler. We're just ready for the matches to go down, the showdowns to go down, the Showcase of Immortals, as the show is called. So I'm all ready for WrestleMania 41.
I hear you, man. I will say this past Monday Night Raw, which I think we should at least briefly touch on quickly, just kind of felt like It hurts to compare it to last year's WrestleMania build, and I don't think it's fair. It was, every 10 years, I feel like that build going into that WrestleMania always has a little extra juice, and WWE treats it that way. So that WrestleMania that follows always feels like it has a lackluster build, or just lackluster in comparison. I'm still excited for things, but it doesn't feel quite like last year, but I'm still excited. And this past Monday Night Raw was meh for me. I wasn't disappointed with it. I didn't really have a ton of expectations. I felt like we've kind of gotten the gist of everything at this point. As far as general thoughts and takeaways, I am very interested in seeing what happens between Dom Mysterio and Finn Balor. I'm also a little intrigued at the fact that Jay and Gunther didn't have much of a face-to-face. It was just like individual promos for the two of them. We obviously got the main event triple threat confrontation again one more time. I'm interested to see if we see that, because we got it on SmackDown and again now tonight on this past Monday Night Raw. Any notes, any takeaways yourself?
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, as I kind of alluded to and as you just summarized, it was really kind of just a filler. But I do think Gunther actually cut probably the promo of his life. I think that was an incredible promo on his end. But I do think Jay took a step back. I think Jay has been really building himself towards this match. And then this week was kind of just, back to the yeet and just hyping up the crowd, which I'm a fan of, but I know that is exactly what everyone has been hating on. With that being said, yeah, I mean, we got a lot of kind of vignettes and promos and, again, just filler. So not too notable of a Raw. I do think the triple threat probably got the biggest build of the night with Rollins, Reigns, and Punk. But besides that, no, not too much notable, man.
Yeah, I will say I'm disappointed that there has not been like one final, and I know we still have a SmackDown coming up that I guess this is possible, but I'm disappointed that we didn't get Cena maybe even just one more time by surprise. Maybe we see it on SmackDown because Cody is technically SmackDown with the championship over there, so maybe, but I'm not really holding my breath on that. We never really got a Rock connection in that storyline as well. Maybe we get that down the road and they're just waiting to give us that. I don't know, but that's probably like the one gripe I have. But overall, I'm kind of ready for WrestleMania. I didn't really need this past Monday Night Raw. I feel like last week was really strong. This just kind of felt like because WrestleMania is pushed so far back, we had to do it kind of thing. So I'm just ready for the big show. And with that, I think it means we need to dive into predictions. So we got 8 matches we're going through all together. We'll go day 1. We'll hit day 2 after that. But first match on the docket here that we'll discuss. This is a match that I highlighted here that will go on my prediction record. And that's going to be Tiffany Stratton going up against Charlotte Flair for that WWE Women's Championship. Now, part of the reason why I chose this match, Matt, is because I feel like with the drama that is now surrounding this matchup and how personal it's got, and I like that WWE, there's like things coming out that are like, oh, they were reprimanded in some sort of way for going so off script during their promo on SmackDown a couple of weeks ago. But I feel like we're at a point now because of everything that happened, and there's that stigma around Charlotte Flair of being a backstage politicker and wanting to get her way. I really don't know who's going to win this match. I really thought there was a legitimate chance that Tiffany was going over. This was going to be kind of like her crowning achievement next step moment. But because the personal issues that have kind of stemmed from this matchup, and we didn't even get a face-to-face from them this past week on SmackDown because of it, other than just like a quick attack from Charlotte. I don't really know who's going to win, and I like that. That's what I want to have here. So now I'm sitting here, to the best of my wrestling knowledge, what makes the more sense logically going forward? Do I think it's Tiffany getting the opportunity and crowning achievement to win at WrestleMania, going over a Charlotte Flair, somebody who is one of the most decorated women's champions of all time? Or are we going to see basically, LOL, Charlotte Flair wins again. Here's another championship after coming back and winning the Royal Rumble. So before I make my prediction, your thoughts on this? Are you on the same page? Am I off on this? Do you feel like you have a clear winner?
No, I think you summarized it very well. I love, the angle they took after that one promo, however many weeks ago, where you kind of were on the borderline of, was that a shoot? Was that real?
Yeah.
What was going on there? So I love how they've been kind of building off that. We had Charlotte attacking Tiffany in the parking lot. Is that, we can only guess that's staged, but I like that they're kind of building into the whole drama, and I agree, it kind of could definitely go either way. I think I have a personal pick that I would love to see win, and I feel kind of in my gut that the other will be winning, but I don't want to steal your glory, so I'm going to give it to you, man.
All right, well, this one's going on my prediction record here, and for my first match of the night, after heavy consideration, I honestly think it's going to be Charlotte Flair. And it's not about the backstage politicking. It's more so her return and what she means to the company as somebody who has so many accolades right now. This story could be told far longer if Charlotte Flair wins, whereas if Tiffany goes over, it leaves you in a position of, well, where does Charlotte Flair go next? It feels like the logical step of Charlotte Flair as the heel in this relationship, going over, changing the titles, or changing the hands that hold the title, and ultimately Tiffany Stratton needs to chase her way back into it. This is something that I think is more of a long-term story that it kind of gets cut short with Tiffany going over. So I'm going to lean Charlotte Flair for my first pick, and we'll start there. Now, let me hear your first pick of the weekend.
All right. So with that being said, going on to Jacob Fatu and LA Knight, I actually think we're going to see the title remain on Knight's hand. Now, the only reason I'm saying that is because you got to remember Jacob Fatu last year was actually just in the stands watching the Royal Rumble. He wasn't even on WWE's roster by the time WrestleMania 40 came around. So he's still new. He has plenty of time, and people already are kind of making dream matches with him against Braun Breaker, Roman Reigns, you name it. There is plenty for Jacob Fatu to do in the future. I think with LA Knight, it's kind of very much like you got to strike the iron while it's hot. He was in the Money in the Bank however long ago, didn't win. Damian Priest won. He kind of fizzled out a little bit, and it finally feels like he's kind of back to being that star that he once was once he regained the U.S. title. So I don't really see this being a moment where the title changes. And I think another thing to consider is, does Solo Sikoa come into play with this match? Now, he did obviously kind of interject himself with Randy Orton. I know we might touch upon that later in the podcast possibly. But if Solo is not fighting Randy, if Solo is kind of left off this card, I see this being the spot where Solo Sikoa is inserted into the WrestleMania plans. He had a huge build all year long, and for him to just not be showcased at all at WrestleMania feels a little odd. So I think they're going to set up Jacob Fatu, Solo Sikoa as kind of the next rivalry and how that whole new bloodline kind of plays out. And I see LA Knight walking away with this still with his title.
Oh, so maybe some inter-family issues costing Fatu the championship. I like that angle. That wasn't even on my radar. I like that. All right, good call. Honestly, I was leaning Fatu, but I think you probably swayed me on that one. I think I like LA Knight on that one now. Inter-family issues, the bloodline continuing to have problems now. So, okay. All right. I'm in on it. The next match, this one here, a match that I have had a roller coaster relationship with. I went from praising the decision to have Jey Uso going after Gunther. It was kind of a foregone conclusion. There was no way he was challenging Cody Rhodes for the championship once he won the Rumble. But having Jey Uso win, I was all for it. The build basically getting derailed. I was completely out on this match until about 3 weeks ago. We had the involvement of Jimmy. We got the promo the following week from Jey. And now here we stand. Like you said yourself, Matt, while I was a little thrown off that we didn't get any sort of face-to-face between the two of them this past Raw, Gunther cut an incredible promo, a great rebuttal to what we got from such a powerful, emotionally charged promo from Jey Uso himself last week to Gunther's face. Now, at this stage, there is the crowd that firmly believes Gunther should not lose this match to Jey Uso, just because of who Gunther is, how good he has been since coming not only to the main roster, but just being in WWE. He has been a champion, it feels like, for more time being an employee of the WWE than not at this current stage in his career. And then there's the crowd, of course, that wants to see the underdog Jey Uso basically finish his story and overcome all the odds. He's no longer afraid. There is so much riding on this match for both Jey and Gunther in different aspects in my eyes, but it would be such a lost cause if Jey Uso does not win this match. It feels like he almost needs to win because taking the gamble on him winning the Royal Rumble was obviously a really big step for the WWE, because we've seen a lot of this person won the Royal Rumble, and I can see why in WWE's past. It makes sense. It was supposed to be, a thing where someone's getting this big title shot, but it kind of turned into main eventers solidifying their spot on the WrestleMania match card. This was kind of going against that grain here. And if you don't have Jey Uso win here, that would tell me that WWE is probably going to be a little more gun shy pulling the trigger on maybe trying to put somebody else in the same situation down the road. So Jey Uso needs this win, whereas Gunther, I don't really think it hurts him, especially if it's like a very hard fought and good match between the two. I know Gunther is able to have a great match with just about anyone. Jey Uso, I think, really needs to step up here for this match to feel really good. But if it's not Jey Uso winning, that is devastating for Jey, because at that point, I don't think you ever put a world championship on him, and you've basically found his ceiling. This is his moment to shine, so if he doesn't get it here, that's basically it. And I think WWE wants more of that from him. So I'm going to take Jey Uso. What say you?
Yeah, this is one where we 100% agree. I'm going Jey pretty confidently. I feel as though this is the classic kind of underdog storyline in WWE. It feels like a Daniel Bryan going up against Triple H. It feels like a Cody going against Roman. Obviously not to as great of a scale, but it feels very much like they've put all their cards in building Jey Uso up as this guy that has to overcome the adversity, overcome the big monster of Gunther. And at the end of the day, you kind of took the words right out of my mouth. Gunther will be fine with a loss. He lost the Intercontinental Championship last year, immediately won the world title. He's going to lose the world title, immediately go on to his next feud or whatever it is, and be perfectly fine. I think Jey is walking out of this champ. I don't see them doing another Royal Rumble where the winner loses. I feel like that's become way too frequent recently.
Oh, absolutely.
I think about Shinsuke. I think about, the list goes on and on. I don't think Jey is going to get added to that list. Plus, let's be real. He's got the bloodline kind of brownie points,
Yeah.
like when you're in the bloodline, when you're Samoan in WWE, you kind of just get golds. That's how it's always been. So I'm going Jey Uso.
Yeah, no, I definitely think this is, and that's a really good point too. The Rumble winner winning at Mania is one of those things where when they lose, it looks so negative on the other side, and it kind of spells doom for the loser in my eyes. I feel like Rumble winner typically is a logical step, and that's and I didn't touch on this when we were talking Stratton and Charlotte Flair, but there's a piece of that too, like the grandiose return of Charlotte in that Royal Rumble to her now going to WrestleMania, like her not winning after having all of that, like it just wouldn't make sense, and I think that same thing applies here. So Jey's got to go over in my eyes. Now to wrap up night one discussion, main event, Roman Reigns, CM Punk with Paul Heyman in his corner, and of course Seth Rollins. Before we even talk predictions here, the current situation as it stands, Roman Reigns is now done with Paul Heyman, it seems, at least in this current instance. I don't know what lies beyond WrestleMania, but we saw Roman basically shove Paul Heyman right in the face, threw him to the ground. It turned into a big fight between all three men once that all started going down here. A lot of people putting hands on Paul Heyman. He's just in the middle of everything right now, and it's kind of a mess. But Seth Rollins has been kind of the guy that feels like he's the one that's preaching the truths to everyone and nobody's listening. And I like that situation that he's in because it could set him up to be like the ultimate liar at the end of the day. And we'll get to that in a second. Whereas Punk, he's just the guy that wants to be in the main event. And it feels like he's using his best friend as leverage to try to get into the head of a guy that is in this match that he didn't really have beef with. Whereas obviously he's already in the head of Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins' character, the way he's played it out, Seth Rollins is seething at the fact that CM Punk's even in a main event match and he feels like he needs to be the one to stop this all. Do you have any sort of idea who comes out winner here and as to why?
Oh, man, that is the money question of the night. Of night one, this is probably the match that all the eyes are on. And I think my first confident prediction is actually not who's going to win, but who's going to lose. I do not see Roman Reigns winning this match. I actually think it is almost given. I'm pretty confident that Roman is not winning this because he's coming off the massive title reign. He had his showcase with Cody Rhodes. Before that, Brock Lesnar. Before that, you name it, on and on and on. He doesn't need it. He does not need it. I don't know if he's going to necessarily take the pinfall, but I don't see Roman winning. Now, with that being said, I could see CM Punk winning because, he's from here, where does he go? Probably the world title. That's really all that CM Punk has to attain left with WWE. But my pick is going to be Seth Rollins. I feel like ever since I started coming on this podcast, I have been preaching that whole idea of Heyman leaving with Rollins at WrestleMania, and I'm still all in. All my chips are on that idea. I think Rollins is walking out of this with a brand new program as a Paul Heyman guy. I think they're going to revert Seth Rollins back to being a heel where he's always been strongest, and I'm going to lock in with a pick for Seth Rollins because originally when you look at this match, he's probably the weak link of this trio. But I think they're going to play upon that and really, once again, elevate Rollins to being a main event contender.
Yeah, man, that the rumor mill surrounding Seth Rollins leaving with Paul Heyman, and I alluded to this earlier, with him ultimately being the liar of everything. He's the guy that's saying he needs to save the business, he needs to stop CM Punk, he needs to stop Roman Reigns, but with the opportunity that is currently presenting itself of him coming in and whisking away with Paul Heyman by his side, stealing a victory, shocking the world, and becoming a Paul Heyman guy and an ultimate heel, that is just like unbelievable booking that I would love to see the WWE go all in on. But here is my rebuttal to that. And I have been leaning Seth Rollins to win this match basically up until WWE felt like they were getting a little too obvious with that being a potential possibility. It almost feels like once that started spinning and started going and making its rounds, it felt like WWE leaned a little too much into it for my taste. And I'm with you. I don't know if Roman Reigns is the logical option to win this match at all. I also don't think they want him to eat a pin here after losing the second night last year. Like, yeah, I know he technically went 1-1 at WrestleMania last year, having 2 matches, but his most recent WrestleMania match is a loss to Cody Rhodes. I don't know if they want him to take another loss where he also has to eat a pin. So this is one of those things where it feels like CM Punk and Seth Rollins in some capacity have to kind of take down the big dog in this match here. Not to come off insulting Roman, excuse me, but they need to take down the big guy in the fight here, and that's probably a piece of like the entire matchup as a whole. But I'm starting to think it's CM Punk, and a lot of it has to do with what I think could potentially happen in night 2, and we'll get to that. So I'm actually leaning CM Punk on this one here. I feel like the Paul Heyman turn going to Seth Rollins is now being pointed to a little too much by WWE themselves. It's keeping me away from wanting to go with that pick now. So I'm going to take CM Punk, and it's going to set something up down the road, and I'll get into it when we get into it for night 2's matches. Before we dive into night 2, though, just a quick, in your opinion, Randy Orton is going to have a match at WrestleMania, and I wanted to ask you about this. Who is his opponent? I have Bet Online, and they have basically Aleister Black and Nick Aldis as like the 2 heavy favorites, and now even Rusev is now rumored because he's signed with a contract as well. I feel like the only logical option here is Aldis. It's got to be him. They've literally been beefing now for the last couple of weeks because of Kevin Owens not being in this match. Is there any way it's not Nick Aldis?
Honestly, probably not. I do think it's going to be Nick Aldis. The only thing with me is that that doesn't really excite me. I do know he comes from TNA as Magnus and all his story. I haven't watched too much of that, but I know a little bit of his history. It's a cool opportunity. I mean, it's kind of nice that his first ever match in WWE will be at WrestleMania. Good for him, man. And it's a nice little substitute for Randy Orton to do something. But in terms of other picks, you did kind of mention some of my top picks, whether it be Rusev or Aleister Black. Almost like a spot where Seth Rollins needed an opponent at WrestleMania 2 or 3 years ago, and then it was Cody Rhodes returning from AEW. The only other substitute, logically, that I could see would be either Sheamus, just because he's not doing anything, and I know that's been rumored, or I mentioned him earlier, Solo Sikoa. I mean, he did have that quick little feud or quick little promo with Randy. That could happen, but I think at the end of the day, it's just going to be Nick.
Yeah. I honestly, as much as it would be fun to see just like a shock return of somebody, it needs to be somebody that can take the loss to Randy, because I don't think Randy was supposed to lose this match when it was with Kevin Owens. And I feel like we need somebody that, I guess Randy Orton could punt in the head. Would he? But is he going to punt the GM in the head? Because I think that's what this was all leading up to, is we were going to see the return of the punt kick, and we're not going to get that now. I don't think on Nick Aldis, or maybe we do. I don't know, but it just logically wouldn't make sense for anyone else in my eyes, because I feel like Randy Orton has to go over here. So I guess we're on the same page, Nick Aldis and Orton. I'm interested in it just because I'm curious to see. I'm not familiar with Nick Aldis as a wrestler, so I'm interested to see how he'll fare in the ring with Orton. And there is like some history to tie together here that I guess I'd be looking forward to see play out. But I don't really know where it goes, beyond just them having the match. Going into night 2, though, I'll let you start off because I started off night number 1. Give me your first prediction for night 1 here. I know you got a couple of them.
Yes, so for night 2, I think I want to start with the women's triple threat, man. I feel like this one has been a real highlight of WrestleMania. I think this one is kind of similar to Charlotte and Tiffany, where you don't really know who's winning. You could make a case for any of these 3 women to walk out. My personal pick, and I think who I am confident will win, is actually going to be Io Sky. I want her to win. I could see this kind of being, again, a Rhea versus Bianca show, and Io just kind of steals a win, whether it's a quick roll-up or however it plays out. I could see that. But a very close second would be Bianca Belair. I do not see Rhea really walking out. She just lost the title. I don't think she necessarily needs the championship to continue her current program in WWE. Bianca kind of gets those comments just like Charlotte, like a Bianca Hogan type deal. So you can never be wrong picking Bianca Belair on a big match. But I think I'm going to lock in. I think Io walks out of this just the way that they've been building up this program with Io being an afterthought. It would be really feel bad for Io Sky to have this kind of build going into this match and then lose. I feel like that could be really damaging to her character, and I think she needs the big win.
Yeah, no, I agree with you on that one. I really feel like the way this has been built with Io Sky as like the third wheel in her own championship match, it has to be her. It has to be her to win. It'll be that feel-good moment of like, you two spent so much time fighting between yourselves and leaving me out of it, and you weren't paying attention to me, and I walked out of WrestleMania with the championship. Like that feels like the right way to go. Bianca Belair is probably the only other person I think that really has the best shot of winning this, because there's a lot of story for her to be told should she win this championship between her, of course, Naomi, and Jade Cargill. So there's a lot that can be done there. And even just looking at betting odds, again, Bet Online, degenerate gambling website, because they let you bet on wrestling, and that's crazy to me. But Bianca Belair is heavy favored here, which is interesting. But again, you can't go wrong with putting the strap on Bianca. Unbelievable in the ring. Great work on the mic. Like, everything she does is fantastic. So I like your Io pick. If I was to pick an opposite person, I guess it'd be Bianca. The match that I have highlighted specifically for this one here, and probably not one that's on a ton of people's radars, is AJ Styles and Logan Paul. This is one in my eyes that I think is the sleeper kind of, not match of the night, but is going to be the best wrestling contest of the night, which I can't even believe that's coming out of my mouth about a match that has Logan Paul involved, but he has done so much to impress me in the ring during his time in WWE. and going up against a guy like AJ Styles, he is one of the GOATs. Like, he is one of those top tier guys that, in a stage like this, you are going to get his best match. He made a match with Shane McMahon at WrestleMania 33, absolute money. Saw that one in person myself, and it was arguably the best wrestling match of the night. Him and Shane McMahon, I think this is where that goes. I don't see Logan Paul winning this match. I don't really know why he would need to win this match per se. He's just the guy that brings nuclear heat no matter what he's doing. And that almost feels like him as an attraction. He is the nuclear heat guy to give a face an opportunity to get a win. And I selfishly want to see AJ Styles get another run. And I think whether it's with a mid-card title or even just a shot at a world championship again, I think it starts here with the Logan Paul win at WrestleMania, AJ Styles win at WrestleMania that could catapult him into a potential feud with John Cena at some point during the next year, should he come out and win that championship match later on in night number 2. What's your other prediction?
So just to quickly touch upon this, I do want to say I agree. AJ Styles is my pick here. But moving on to this next prediction, it is actually the fatal 4-way for the Intercontinental Championship. Dom, Finn, Braun, Penta. My only personal real opinion here is that I do not want to see Braun Breaker win this match.
Really?
I am actually pretty anti-Braun Breaker. I feel that is kind of a mic drop and very unpopular opinion. I think he's incredibly talented, but the whole tweener thing that he's got going on, I want this man to just be a full-blown heel. I feel like he's meant to be just a bad guy. And I know it's very different, but it gives me kind of big dog Roman Reigns vibes if he's ever going to be pushed as a full face, or just some of the programs he does. Something about it just rubs me the wrong way, and I can't really put my finger on it. So I want to see this man lose. But with that being said, who do I predict? I think it's going to be Dom Mysterio. I really do. I do, because I feel like the Judgment Day really needs a win. And if anyone is going to walk out of this match, it's the perfect time to strap up Dom Mysterio in a fatal 4-way. Dom is not going to beat Braun Breaker one-on-one. Dom is not going to probably even beat Penta one-on-one. And you could probably argue he may not ever even beat Finn Balor one-on-one until he has way more development. This feels like WWE's way of setting up a Dom Mysterio championship win at WrestleMania with kind of like one of those quick roll-up or like betrayal type pins.
Oh, on
and
Finn, yeah.
That is why I'm really, really drawn to a Dom win. Again, Judgment Day has just been losing and losing and losing, yet they're so heavily featured in the shows where there would be more than enough to kind of have an aftermath of this, with Dom having a title run, Finn feeling betrayed, and that's why I feel pretty confident about that pick.
Wow, look at that! You sold me on that one. I've been very up in the air on this one here. I was leaning maybe Braun Breaker because they just want him to stay strong. To your point on Breaker, I don't know if he doesn't rub me the wrong way. The one thing that I hate, that I wish that they would stop, is the unpredictable badass thing that they say to him. That just sounds so corny to me. I don't like it, and that's my only gripe with Braun Breaker as a wrestler, as his character, and everything. That, for whatever reason, has never hit my ears right, and I wish that they would stop, because I love him as a character and as a wrestler. He's fantastic. Dude's an unbelievable athlete, brings great power. I do want him just full-blown heel. I'm not in love with the tweener thing. I think he's great as a heel, and they need to just focus in on that. But I love it. You sold me on Dom Mysterio. Cheap roll-up, probably on Finn, too, to really set up some problems within Judgment Day. Like, I'm here for it. Give it to me. Last match of the night, though, of the weekend, we got to dive in. Cody Rhodes versus John Cena for the World Championship. I'm going to jump right into this. Cody Rhodes, his run has been great. What he does is excellent, but the face is better off chasing than as the champion. I think I like John Cena in this one here. And part of it has to do with my point earlier about CM Punk winning the triple threat match. I think down the road, his win coming off of WrestleMania sets up a good opportunity for him to have some sort of program with CM Punk as one of his greatest rivals during John Cena's career. John Cena cannot lose this match. If he does, I don't know where this direction goes with him during this whole heel run. It would make absolute zero sense. Maybe there's some wacky finish to the match, but it's got to be John Cena. What do you think?
Man, I really want to agree with you, but my gut is saying Cody Rhodes.
Wow.
And the reason being this. These are my heroes, man. Like, I love these two wrestlers very much, so I'm all personally invested in this match. But something just feels a little off with Cena. Like, it just feels like it's too good to be true. It feels too good that he's a heel. It feels too good that we're dream booking these matches with Randy Orton. I know Backlash is going to be in St. Louis. Everyone's like, Cena Orton for the title. Everyone's looking at Cena AJ, Cena Punk. I'm seeing a lot of buzz that people are saying, I don't think Cena's going to break the record as a heel. I think it's going to be a whole redemption arc. He's going to have to go through the whole year struggling. Maybe he'll win the title at SummerSlam. Maybe he'll win the title in the fall. I just feel like there's still a lot of momentum with Cody's title reign, and I want Cena to win. This is definitely my pick that I want him to win, but something is telling me Cody is walking away from WrestleMania, having conquered the big bad John Cena, having conquered The Rock if he shows up. So I hope I'm wrong, but my prediction is actually going to be Cody Rhodes.
Wow. All right. So and honestly, for the same logic that I kind of have CM Punk winning the main event of night one, is it almost feels too obvious to have Cena win. Fair enough. Wow. All right. I thought you were going to go Cena too. I mean, for those watching, we did not share our predictions. We've just been kind of live shooting them at each other. But wow. All right. So Cody Rhodes, man, that would just put Cena's run in such a weird place. But I'm interested in seeing how it goes. Fire away in the comment section down below. Let us know, who do you have winning, walking out as champions, what titles change? Let us hear from you on that comment section. This was another edition of Ringside Review, a special WrestleMania predictions edition. If you made it to the end, as always, greatly appreciated. We'll see you all next time.
Shout out to our guys, Matt and Athan, for that Ringside Review. Make sure to check out WrestleMania. Make sure to check out the Hockey Hub, more Bruins talk, and all our NESN podcasts. She's Kasey Hudson. I'm George Balekji. This was Boston has entered the chat. We'll see you guys same time, same place tomorrow. Have a good one.